Welcome to another episode of the Voice of Boxing podcast with Loungers TV, the creative streaming platform you've got to get on there. Plenty of fighters, past and present, dropping in these days to our studio here. George Groves with me today, an old friend, great fighter, former world champion, of course. Firstly, George, I just want to talk to you about a few things coming up in boxing, or a few things that have been in boxing. Your take last week on the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul event in Texas.
Yeah, it was. I actually got up and watched it. It's the first time I've seen Jake Paul fight. And, you know, you're doing your preview shows beforehand. I'm like, yeah, Tyson's going to knock him out. Did I think so? No, of course not. I didn't know. I hadn't seen Tyson in the gym. I've never seen Paul fight, so I didn't know what to expect. I think they both did go and have a go, I think, which was, I don't know if that was a shock to me or not, Adam. You know what I mean? I didn't know whether they would just sort of pull each other around, but I think they both went and had a go. The fight wasn't much to watch. 2-minute rounds go so quick. So it was, I mean, not the future of boxing, I hope. But everyone's chasing that Jake Paul fight now. So if you've retired, or if you haven't, or if you're in and amongst it, if you've got any sort of name or any desire, then everyone, it seems like, is chasing poor old Jake Paul.
I mean, Tony Bellew is in the crowd shouting him out. We've heard all sorts of names being mentioned. You're not going to get the old gloves out and have a go, are you?
No, I'm going to rise above that for the sake of boxing. Show some decorum and not.
Do you think your mate Froch will be the same, or do you think he could be tempted?
Oh, well, Froch is already. I think Froch might be the front runner on this. He said that he'll beat him with one arm behind his back. Let's. I don't know. It ain't, but you know, Father Time caught up with Tyson's. Father Time caught up with these guys as well. I don't know.
It's not an old man's game, is it? It's a young man's sport, and there's a reason for that, right?
Absolutely. I think there's lots of really good ex-fighters, champions who they get back in the gym and all of a sudden they're feeling fitter than they have done recently, and you know, maybe they've got a new strength and conditioning coach and they're a little bit stronger than they thought they ever was, or they might be hitting a couple of PBs on a couple of long runs, but until you get punched in the mush, Adam, until you get punched in the face and then see how you feel the next day, because that's when you'll know, you know. I think
and that's what Tyson used to say, wasn't it? Everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Absolutely. You know, I haven't. I'm only 36, and I've been out the ring now for 6 years, and I don't know what it would feel like to get in there and get punched. You know, because I watch them. I'm sitting there ringside at the main events now, and I'm in the gym watching the amateur lads just belt each other, and I think, oh, I'm getting soft. Definitely in that regard. So getting punched in the face it's all fun, but you got to get yourself used to it. And if you're a little bit out of touch with that, then it might shock you.
Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano on the card as well. That was a good one, a really tasty rematch too. It's fantastic where women's boxing's come.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it is huge. I know, obviously, Tyson Paul is not. I think it was a licensed boxing match, but it's not at the pinnacle of, you know, high stakes boxing, world level boxing. But they have to pad that out, and the reason that they've used Taylor and Serrano is because they're the two best, definitely the two most iconic female fighters out there. Sadly, I haven't got a chance to I didn't get up early enough to see their fight, and I haven't caught up with it yet. But that's the good thing about maybe Netflix. You can always watch it. It's always there. So
interesting Netflix are in, isn't it? Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's they're great, Netflix. Everyone loves Netflix, right? But they don't do pay-per-view as far as I'm aware. So will they break the mold, break the trend? Because everyone says the new home of boxing, you don't need to pay for it, just a little subscription. And then once they've got your subscription, then, you know, the pay-per-views have to come, and the promoters say, well, how else can we make these big fights? And they're right. Because, you know, I didn't have to pay anything to watch Tyson at the weekend. I don't think anyone else did, apart from your tickets to get into the stadium that night. So whether that be the case moving forward, I don't know. But they've dipped their toe in live sport, haven't they? And Yeah, it seems great, but then choice is always the root of misery, Adam, isn't it? So the more choice we got, the more we got to be miserable about, and maybe that's a good thing for boxing because we like to moan. But actually, I think it's great. It's another player out there, another opportunity for fights to come through. As long as these fights can get made once they get to the top, then the best fight the best, and we're all happy as boxing fans, aren't we?
Plenty of fights coming up. I just want a quick response to these. Edwards and Yafai, let's start with that in Birmingham in, a week and a half. Really good fight for Matchroom. Really good test, I guess, for Yafai and Edwards, who's got that experience and wants to shine again. How do you see that unfolding?
Yeah, that's a great fight for the little guys who don't always get the the headlines. Edwards been controversial, so he does get that sort of clickbait audience following. I think he's sort of dampened that down now in a few years as he's got older. But Yafai from a really talented boxing family. Older brother Cal was, I remember him. We used to box together all around the world as amateurs, and then see him go on and win a world title was brilliant. So I think it's a great fight. I think Yafai's all them guys are supreme talent. So I think it's a really interesting one. It was probably got obviously the experience, but I wouldn't want to pick a winner, Adam.
The week later, you may not know the names, some of the maybe smaller fighters, but GBM have got a show in Sheffield, December the 7th. It's stopped with Jack Bates and Danny Quartermain. It's got Razor Ali, who's been in recently against Niall Berry. So maybe more about the GBM shows and what Izzy Asif has done this year, because a lot of attention has been on Saudi and the big players. But he wants to be part of that by putting on really good shows here, which I think fans still want to see, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in this point in time, and I think when I first turned professional, there wasn't hardly any sort of, you don't want to call them small hall shows, but they're shows that are not backed by a major television company, but they've got a load of good fighters and they're out week on week on week, matching these guys in good fights. It's not just 10 5-0 fighters who might make it, might not, beating up on journeymen. They're good, exciting fights. So I think it's great what GBM are doing, and the fact that you can watch these fights on DAZN or other streaming platforms is great. I know you do some stuff with TalkSport, and they're covering a lot of these sort of smaller hall shows, because the truth of the matter is, for fighters now, unless even if they do come out of the Olympics, they've got to come out of the Olympics with a medal and a profile and an instant Instagram following and some big deals. Otherwise, the Matchrooms, Queensbury, to be fair, do sign a lot of fighters, but the boxers, these big companies, big organizations, they ain't got room on their roster for everyone. So and there's not as many. It feels like there's not as many dates through Matchroom. It feels like they don't put out as many UK dates as they did when I was boxing. So it's great for these fighters to fight, get the experience of being on a really good show, get challenged, maybe get to decent level where they're fighting for championships, and then maybe one of the big broadcasters get involved and say, this kid's got potential, he's got pay-per-view all over him, let's get behind him. So I think boxing in that regard is in a really good place.
December the 14th sees the return of Tasha Jonas headlining in Liverpool, Boxer and Sky show, trying to unify the welterweight belts. I guess Lauren Price as well, a champion now, so maybe that's still down the line for Tasha, who's still going strong, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. I know she wants to be careful because she had a ticking clock. She was like, a little bit left. But, as these things happen, I think she didn't get the fights quite as soon as she wanted them, so she's prolonged her career a touch longer. But great for her that she's had a fight put together for her just before Christmas. She's in her hometown, Liverpool. It's a unification clash. I don't know much about her opponent. I don't think I've seen her fight yet. But great for Tasha, and obviously it sets up that Lauren Price fight, in the new year, providing she comes through it, and that might be her exit strategy. Who knows? She's had a fantastic career.
The next night in Gibraltar, Dillian White's back. He wants to be part of this picture, doesn't he? The heavyweight mix that suddenly exploded around the world.
Yeah. I was, sort of hadn't heard or know much about Dillian White for a long time now. It feels like he has boxed, hasn't he, since that scheduled fight with Joshua. But yeah, I think so much is happening in Saudi Arabia. If you can force yourself into that heavyweight mix, then you're good to go. He probably wants to run out in Gibraltar. I think he spends a lot of time in Gibraltar training now. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what he's got left really, because maybe at his age, the miles on the clock, bit of time out would have been tough for him. But there's heavyweights live forever, Adam, don't they? You never write them off.
That's a Sunday show. 6 days later, the big one, the rematch between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury out in Riyadh. Many differing opinions. I was on the Lennox Lewis tour last week, and we were asking the audience who was going to win that. And it was 60-40, 50-50 every night. No one really committing one way or the other. Will you?
I mean, right now, I personally think Usyk wins the rematch if they have it. I think, Frank Warren and lots of the guys within sort of Team Fury make really great points, and they're getting a little bit of first-hand, behind the scenes stuff that we haven't seen. Maybe we have to take their word for it. But just on the basis of, being a fan, sitting there, I was fortunate enough to be out there at that fight, pretty close to the ring, and just to witness what went on. Fury had a lot of good work, a spell in the fight where he was looking like he was going to start to dominate. And then what Usyk has always done is he just goes through the gears. And he went through the gears that night. And there was a moment where I thought the referee had jumped in and stopped the fight. That standing 8 count, which is rare in professional boxing. I jumped out my chair. I'm looking like this. I think David Hay was a few doors that way, or Derek Chisora was that way. So what's going on? And so, yeah, people say that fight would age Usyk, but also you've got to factor in that fight would certainly age Fury. Fury, you'd think, is the one with the most to gain, which he obviously is, but also that gives him the most amount of motivation. But I think we might look back in time to come and say that Usyk was a very special fighter, and he'll go down as one of the best in the heavyweight division. He's got to beat Fury first, though.
Perfect. Totally agree with you. Okay. This will be just a bit of fun. Looking back, a few points, have a bit of fun with it, tell a few stories, whatever you want. Okay. Hello there. Welcome along to the Voice of Boxing. Another episode. They're coming thick and fast. We've got another big name on today for you. St. George Groves, former world champion, maverick, genius at times, in and out of the ring. A thrilling career he had for a decade or so. Great amateur too, and some fantastic stories. I know him well, George. It's a pleasure. Thank you for dropping in. It's great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too, Adam. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited.
In association with Loungers TV, the streaming platform that are bringing you all the great new innovation and creators going forward. George, where do we start? What do you miss about boxing? What do you miss? 6 years since you've retired. I think you retired, seemed to us, at exactly the right sort of time. You climbed the mountain. It took you a while. You became world champion. What do you miss about it?
I think what you would miss is you miss the competitive nature of it. You miss having a fight. You miss the ring walks. You miss the big nights. You miss your arm being raised. You miss the paycheck that lands in your account Monday morning as well. So
does it always land Monday morning?
Not always. No, sometimes. But if it depends how tight your contract is, guys, and then it does. Sometimes you get paid before your ring walk. Just in case. But
you were pretty smart on that front, weren't you? Most of your career.
Well, yeah, you
looked after yourself.
Yeah, I think so. I'm from humble backgrounds, Adam. You know where I'm from. My first work. My first job, my first work experiences was working as a labourer on a building site, earning £60 a day. And everything I ever do after that, I always refer it back to, I don't care about inflation, I don't care about times have moved on, don't care about this, don't care about that. I used to work 9 hours a day for £60. And so that always keeps me grounded. Your money comes in, but you're a prize fighter. So when it comes in, it's great, but instantly a third that goes out as training expenses, and then the other third you begrudgingly give to the tax man, and then with what's left, you've got to hold on to it and make it last a lifetime. So that's part and parcel of life, and certainly life as a boxer.
You talk about the lights, the adulation, the ring being your home, I guess, as well, and the fans being there, and you have plenty of those along the journey. When it is over, do you sort of feel a bit lost, a bit sort of not sure now? Sort of getting up in the morning is different. Do you have to have a purpose, a structure, because you're a long time retired?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were very different situations. Some people were just in love with the boxing, and everything within their life is boxing. Unfortunately for me, I had two young kids came along right at the end of my career. So my babies were born. My last one came between my last fight and my second to last fight, and I wouldn't say he finished me off.
Have they now?
But yeah, but I think having 2 under 2 for a little while, trying to rehab a shoulder, trying to argue with promoters to secure a date, the wife at home stressed out. It's like I had both my mother-in-law and my father-in-law moved in to help with the kids at the time. I was like, I think I'm gonna have a break, man. I feel a bit tired. But yeah, I think what happens for a lot of fighters is they get a crisis of identity. So you're there now, a few years on, and I'm doing the school run, dropping the lads off at school, and the parents are like, "What are you up to today?" And you've got to have an answer. I think I can sympathise with stay-at-home mums almost, because there's and it's. My mum was a stay-at-home mum. I think it's a wonderful thing if you are fortunate enough to be in that position to do it. But there's a bit of a stigma attached to it. It's like, oh, I need to have something interesting to talk about. And mine is I'm working once a week. I might be doing the Sky Show at the weekend. Might be doing Channel 5. Might have a podcast. Might have this. So that's enough to fill my quota to the parents. Who. None of which are judging me, but it's my own insecurity to think, wow, I've got to have I can't just keep saying I used to box. What do you do? What do you do for a living? Oh, I used to be a boxer. I can't not start that because it's a bit weird sometimes when I don't. So I think that can be a real problem for fighters. When they finish, they're like, I'm so used to getting up and going to the gym, waiting on the next fight, stressing about this, stressing about that. That they probably think they need something to fill that void. When the truth is, just take your time. Just treat it like you've just had your last fight and you're about to go into camp, but you don't know when the next fight's coming. So just take it easy. Just relax. Just smile.
It is all consuming, isn't it? Even our side on the broadcast part, it's boxing is it's like a drug, I guess, isn't it? It gets you, and you want it to sort of almost eat you up at times, because there's fights to make, there's fights that fall apart, there's stories all the time, there's, especially now with social media, everyone's sort of arguing, debating, there's controversies, there's great nights, there's awful nights, there's happy days, there's rainy days, all of that sort of stuff. It's almost like the theatre of life, isn't it, boxing?
Yeah, I think, and it just keeps going, it just keeps coming. And you really do, like, for me now, especially from a broadcaster point of view, you notice, like, when the big fights are in town and when they're not, you're looking for them. You're like, we want something that really captures everyone's imagination. Sometimes I still don't know why certain fighters or certain fights do that, but they do. And when they have that crossover, it is a brilliant thing. And then when it's not that, then it's how are we going to get there? And it's, boxing every week. And as we said earlier on in the show, there's more and more of these really good quality small hall and shows. I need to figure out a new term for that, whatever that is, if it's not small hall anymore.
Because they're bigger, actually.
They're bigger.
Like small arenas, aren't they? But the passion there is phenomenal.
Yeah, because, like, there's been money spent on production. It's not filmed on someone's Samsung camera and might end up on YouTube. Like, the ring walks are there, the hospitality's there. People, you got to create an event with these shows, even more so sometimes than the bigger TV shows. So it's great for the fighters because they're living and breathing it because they're getting their time to revel in under the lights, as well as what you would do when you get to the top level. So there's plenty of boxing going on. Just these small hall shows have all got commentators at them because every now and again you'll be at one, I'll be at one, we'll see each other there. This is good, isn't it?
Yeah, and it is good. It doesn't matter. For me, I've always said, whatever level it is, whether you're a 4-round fighter or whether you're at the world elite level or brigade, every fighter's got a story. Everyone's got a journey. Yes, in terms of maybe attraction, it might change, but ultimately a ring's a ring and a fight's a fight.
Yeah, because you got to brush up on your knowledge as well, which forces you to be within boxing, which actually means you're enjoying it more. Because it's so well and good. I'm covering the Fury Usyk fight, and all I need to do is remember who Fury's last 4 opponents are, who Usyk's last 4 opponents are, who's in the top 10, and who's got what belt, what can happen next. But you go to a show, Adam, you're doing GBM, and you've got a 6-0 welterweight, and you're like, right, well. I might not necessarily have seen him box yet. I don't know who he's boxed prior, but how far away is he from a domestic title?
Yeah.
Who is that domestic champion?
Yes.
Who's the English champion?
Yes.
Who's the Southern Area champion? Who's this? Who's that? So you're not expected to know everything, but it does give you that opportunity. And it's fun to go through people's histories and be part of their journey, even if it is from afar.
Some of your career was before the internet. Were you always a reader of Boxing News, Boxing Monthly, and do you still sort of look out for those things, a bit of nostalgia, or were you one that didn't want to sort of read up on other people and you just got on with your own thing?
Yeah, I wasn't fussed about anyone else as such, but it's typical me, innit? But if I was in the Boxing Monthly or the Boxing News, that was big news, you'd be down WH Smith's or any other good local news agents and get your 3 or 4 copies, as many as they had. You'd have a personal relationship, wouldn't you, with them? Because you'd say to them, right, they almost ordered it in for you and whoever else it was. And it's like, next week, gets a couple extra copies, Because,
if you're on the front cover.
Exactly. I made the cover of Boxing News 3 weeks in a row, which... I don't know if anyone else has done that since. I think it was pre-Froch, and then a week after Froch. I was like, there you go. How about that? You do really dine out.
Is that something that the folks, your parents, sort of keep scrapbooks of, and your kids now, I suppose, are getting to an age where they're probably starting to understand sort of who you were and what you did, or is it not sort of what you talk about these days? I know you're a Chelsea fan. I know you've got other things in your life. Is boxing sort of discussed around the dinner table ever?
No, it is because the new chapter within my sort of boxing world is I've just took on a fighter who is a very, very, very talented fighter, Lucas Rohrig, who is from my amateur club, which is the Dale Youth ABC. So I've been popping down Dale Youth on a Sunday morning to volunteer and take pads with the guys for the last 3-4 years. Truth be told, I started doing it because I wanted to just see my old club coach Mickey, who's 80 years of age now, still slipping and sliding, bobbing and weaving in the corner, and just to get that.
Great old characters, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. Anyone who knows exactly what I'm talking about. If you came from an amateur gym where it is that sort of family community team, you're in it together, and this is where champions essentially come from. They're future stars. They always start off here before they get to GB and start fighting in the Olympics or turning pro underneath the big spotlights. That they're in these small little gyms up and down the country learning their craft. So I was in there, and Lucas, he got on the GB team and was doing well, but he was in the 86 kilo category, so there was no chance for him to go to the Olympics because that was sort of, I think it's light heavyweight, which is about 79 kilo or 80, 81, 82 kilo, up to the heavyweight. They don't have a cruiserweight. So it's 21. Do you want to go pro? Yeah, let's do it. So I've still got my manager's license. I had to go and get my trainer's license. I was up in Manchester the other week with Frankie Gavin was on the course.
Really?
Frankie Gavin's up there. He's getting his trainer's license.
He's a fighter we always wanted more from, wasn't he, Frankie?
Absolutely, and hopefully we'll get it now.
Good.
As a coach.
He's in a good place.
He seems like he's in a great place.
To
Fun
hear.
time, Frankie. He's still, he. The course is great. We love it, but he's like a day and a half sitting at a desk. Us fighters want to get up and bounce around. So I think his eyes glazed over a couple of times. So did mine. Jordan Gill was on the course.
Okay.
Yeah, the thrill, Jordan Gill. So I think he was just on for the day.
That's great to see him still involved.
And that's what happens,
Giving back and using that experience that you've built up over your careers.
Well, the amateur side of things was giving back, but now I'm with Lucas and we're on a journey. And my wife, who sort of childhood sweetheart, she was there for the tail end of my amateur career and the whole pro career. So she's sort of keeping me in check more than I am. She's like, right, this is okay. If you can take on Lucas, this is a serious thing. You got to do it properly. And she's prepped me. She's prepped the kids. She's like, when Dad's not home this day or Dad's this, that, he's working with Lucas. It's very serious now. My lad he's only 8, but I promised him he can come to the debut. So Lucas made his debut on December the 14th. So we get him run out before Christmas.
Where's that?
It's on Harrow, on the Harrow Leisure Centre. It's on a TM14 show.
Yep.
So very similar to all those other shows we were talking about. These guys put out shows every month, probably a few times a month.
And what do you want to do? But build him up on the sort of small hall circuit and give him experience of different fighters and because he's young, I guess, still, and then look for the right move.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would always get layered in. It's fantastic if and we're talking to all the promoters, everyone's very interested, but they can't really offer you more than 5-6 fights a year, and that's a standard. But if it turns out it benefits him to get more fights, then you as personally, my mindset is as a manager and definitely as a trainer is like, yeah, go for it. Like and all the promoters are on side like that anyway.
How good is he?
The same. Very good, very good, very good. He's just as good as I am, if not better. He's more athletic than I ever was. He doesn't have as much experience as I had at his age. But Adam, the one thing he's got is he's got me as a coach as well, hasn't he? You know what I mean?
I love that, George. I love that.
I had some good coaches, but
I got to stop here. There's one thing that George Groves didn't lack, and that was confidence. You did it your way. What was that? Was that planned to be different, sort of unique? Did you sort of think, okay, everyone's doing this with their sort of promoters or managers, all sort of pretty normally, and I'm going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons here, and I'm going to really rile up people, and I'm going to charter a different course to get attention and ultimately get money.
Yeah. So I think if I've worked out who I am as a person, so I'm like stereotypical eldest child. So I'm I've got 2 younger siblings, but I'm the eldest child. I'd led from the front, and I was really successful as a kid. Like I used to kickbox. I know like some people were like, but kickbox, and I used to fight on the pro shows. So I was used to ring walking underneath the lights at York Hall at Epping Forest Country Club, fighting on Eurosport and stuff, like 11, 12 years of age. So I sort of thought I was Naz. This is like, mid to late 90s. I'm out there just giving it everything.
Was Naz a bit of a hero? Do you look up to him and think?
Not really, no. I think because my dad didn't like him, so I didn't like him. My dad liked Nigel Benn and stuff like that. So, but I never watched a lot of pro boxing. I'm just listening to the adults. I was always fast asleep by the time the main event came on. But started amateur boxing and then just didn't lose. Used to win all the time. I won everything. I won the 4 schoolboy titles, which is like almost like the holy grail of like junior amateur boxing at the time. I was probably the last one to do it as well, because I think they dropped it to 3 after me, the year after me. But I went like 28-0 as an amateur. You meet amateurs, really good amateurs, and they've usually got a few losses on their record. But I won, all the championships, started boxing for England, and that's when I sort of came up against some worthy adversaries, started to travel the world and kept pace, won a European bronze medal alongside Anthony Ogogo and Luke Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
And then we were the only ones sort of progressed from that year group into the under-19s, which would have been, I can't remember what they call it, junior or youth or something. And at the time, you've got Amir Khan, who at 17 goes to the Olympics and wins a silver medal. I can't explain to anyone how mind-boggling that was for us at the time.
Yeah.
Like we're really good fighters. You know, we leave no stone unturned. Me, Ogogo, Campbell, and many others, and we can barely medal at tournaments for kids our own age. You know, and this guy's gone to the full Olympics and won a silver. It was just incredible. And before then, like he was already the standout amateur. He went to the World Championships and won gold. I think he won Best Boxer. He'd done all these things and obviously qualified. And I'm still getting to grips with understanding what qualifying means. I thought, oh, you just send a team. No, you got to qualify. I was like, well, they all qualify, yeah? He's like, no, one qualified. Just can't. And he goes and he does it. But
a one-off at that time.
a one-off, absolutely one-off. And probably will always be. I can't really see anyone else doing what he did. He had the formula for amateur boxing that was point scoring over 4 2-minute rounds at the time. It was just lightning fast hand speed, athleticism, and just super fit for that.
But George, you're an excellent amateur, and I remember at Sky, Ed Robinson and others saying, "Oh, you got to watch this guy, George Groves. He can really hit. He's got something about him." And there was a story straight away. It was like there was that attraction about you from a TV point of view that we wanted to know more. I think it was a bit of a mystery around you, and I think there was through your career the Rubik's Cube, the tricks with Carl, all that sort of stuff. But it just sort of almost like you were slightly a step ahead of us in a way, which was strange because I think we always thought maybe at Sky that we controlled the narrative and we could sort of say, okay, this one is this story, and then we had this enigma in George Groves, who we couldn't really fathom out, but we knew we had to watch with interest and use.
Yeah, I think so. Why I was the way I was is I'd gone from being a kid and being like, why am I not the A side of everything? And then I didn't get picked to go to Olympics, and DeGale goes and wins gold. And we're from the same club, so from there on in, it was like I'm not used to being second in line. But now I am, and I'm not having it. Like I'm not submissive at all. I wouldn't accept that. So, and I'd linked up with David Hay and Adam Booth, and Hay had sort of similar in some ways, but had sort of carved out his own route. And I found that inspiring. Like he's like, you know, I can get to the top, and I'm in better shape than the rest of them because I'm actually in control and I'm dictating, and you know, and they were having fun while they were doing it, or at least it looked like I was having fun. So from there on in, I learned a lot from David Hay just through observing. I'm that sort of person. I was that sort of fighter. I always wanted to. It was like a winner. I had to be first. Had to be best. Had to be, you know, taken note of. But watching Hay and the way he would create drama, create interest. And almost like realizing, oh, you can do that. You can do that. And TV love it. You know, the newspapers love it because that was important back then. You know, he would get column inches, he would get back pages, and he would create drama. So, you know, I was almost following his footsteps, and there was never going to be anything that I could do that was as provocative or, you know, cancelable, should we say, as David Hay would do. But I was fortunate enough to have, as always, opponents to run at. You know, people to get stuck in on and to try and create the interest. Obviously, first with DeGale, then it was Froch. Later on, there was a little bit with Eubank and
yeah, I was going to ask you about that. I mean, David Hay, I totally agree. He was someone who did it his way, and there was a fantastic glow about him, and you wanted to be around him, and there was something that was different. And of course, he could really punch, and he was a heavyweight. Well, eventually, but you had these rivalries in your career, and they say that great fighters end up having great dance partners, and you need that in boxing. You look at Barrera, Morales, who are forever etched in history, or Corrales and Castillo, or Bowen Holyfield, or back in the day, Ali and Frazier. But you had these sort of three going through your career. You had De Gale, which was deep-rooted from amateurs, and then you got that win over him. You had the Froch one, which was sort of obviously the most famous one as social media was exploding, and that was an incredible sort of 9-10 months of storytelling, really. And then you had Eubank. Which did you enjoy most of all, if you look back at it, and which rival was the one that really pissed you off the most?
Yeah, I tried to sort of be emotionally dead to all of them, like not emotionally invested. But I don't know. It's hard to tell. It wouldn't be Eubank because I wasn't too fussed about Eubank. But yeah, out of Froch and De Gale, I don't know. I genuinely don't know. There's the story that's told about me and Froch. We hated each other. Froch wins, and then I meander around for a while, and then I win at Sheffield, and he's stand up and he's applauding me, which is great. But if you go back and you watch my first fight after losing to Froch at Wembley Stadium, I fight Christopher Brass. It's on the Sky card. It's at Wembley Arena. Wasserman actually promote that. Not Wasserman, sorry. Sowland promote that. So that's why I was signed with Sowland at the time. And they gave me a lot of... They let me run the show. Like the canvas has got my logo on it,
St. George Groves.
Yeah, literally, it's my logo right in the middle. Boom. I did a lot to promote that fight, and watching it back now, it's really good, really good. But the commentary team was Froch, Bellew, Glenn McCrory, and it's Johnny Nelson hosting. And Froch, oh my God, he's spewing. He's so angry. He's gone full Froch, like he's gone full Froch mode. And I think, wow, like lots of people would have forgot. Even I forgot just how deep rooted the hatred was back then. And it should be done. It should be done. He hasn't retired yet, but he's had the fight, and he's going to be thinking about the retirement.
He's at Wembley. He's had the win.
He's at Wembley. He's had the win, and now he's back at Wembley Arena. In September, so 4 or 5 months later, and he's
still can't let it go.
He can't let it go. So
I remember. I don't think
that's probably when I started to hate Froch. I didn't hate him I didn't hate him when I was preparing to box him. After that,
didn't you?
I hated him. Yeah,
you didn't. I mean, on the ringside set and all the sort of famous moments, the push and the pull and all that. You were just sort of playing the game and
just playing the game. I don't. At the time, I'm like, I would love to sign with Matchroom and Eddie Hearn at the moment because it would make my life fucking a lot easier, right? And I can't because they've got Froch. If I get rid of Froch, then there would have been a chance. But after that first fight, my mindset was, well, that ain't never gonna happen because by hook or by crook, they're not gonna let me in, right? So I have to do what I've always done: is go the left field route, go with someone else. That was Sowland.
I mean, can you look back on that first fight and say, I sort of get it, as in it was stopped. I know how bitter you were at the time. I know you're never going to buy the fact that that you weren't allowed to continue. But there's a bit of you I know that thinks, conspiracy, what was going on? What's the real sort of truth behind it? But can you look back at it and just say, I lost that fight? Or is it really hard still for you to take that one from Manchester?
No.
Wembley, I get. Wembley, it was conclusive. But Manchester, there's a defeat on your record. Is that always going to not sit right with you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's impossible to describe, Adam. Like what it is, what it had taken, what I'd put into it just to get to that point. And yeah, if I watch it back, I'm like, I don't get it. I don't know why it stopped.
Do you watch it back?
Well, if I'm sitting next to Froch every now and again, we have to watch it back. But I've watched it, obviously, it was 10 years a year ago. So we watched it back then. And that was probably the first time I watched it back properly. And I'm just like, oh, wow. I don't know.
I suppose being unbeaten at the time, having floored him, having beaten him up at times in the fight, having got a lot of success in there, I guess it must have been devastating.
Yeah.
It must have been
I think
really
it's devastating.
upsetting.
I mean, like, you know, didn't have any time to sort of think or process it. Just go straight back in. Let's get a rematch. And we go to Wembley Stadium. And then it doesn't work out for me. Tactics are different. You know, there's a lot of pressure before the fight, during the fight.
Did you feel it? Did you feel it with the sort of the amount of attention on you, the Wembley sellout?
I just didn't know what that you're walking around.
You came in the bus. You looked like you were loving it.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like I lived my whole life for moments like that. And that's what it would always been. I don't shy away from it in that regard. I'm back being 11 years old, ring walking, thinking to a kickboxing European title fight at York Hall under the bright lights. Now I'm at Wembley Stadium, and you know, I'm excited that we've created this, that we got to this point where I've done everything to get to this point. But yeah, also, yeah, I think can't help but. Not supposed to be nervous, but just be like a bit unknowing. Like, what is this? What is it? And ultimately, you've got to have a fight at the end of it, so that you can't really enjoy it because you're like, we've got to have a fight at the end of it. And it's.
Did you enjoy the? I mean, like you love the ring walks. You say you sort of dined out on that since you were a kid. What about the actual fights? Did you go in there thinking, this is where I'm at home, or did you think, it may not work out for me? What was your mindset?
No, there was never any doubt of losing, and I enjoyed fighting. There was the odd fight where I didn't enjoy it. I was like tired. You know, it's like I remember the Rabras fight after Froch, and I was like sat down after like 2 rounds, and I was just like, I feel so tired.
And are there reasons for that, or it just sometimes it's just you just don't feel right?
Might be. I think it's a mental thing. A lot for me personally. Sometimes I don't remember if you have problems in camp, you haven't made the weight properly, or you're carrying an injury or something like that, then yeah, that might be play a part. But sometimes it can just be a mental thing. Like again, something I forgot was like a fight Rabras with high hands, like and I'm boxing really well out of high hands. There's loads of nice little slick head movement, jabs working really well, loads of double jabs. And Adam, I don't like double jabs. Like I don't like.
You always had a great jab.
Great jab. But a high hand double jab it's too obvious. Like if someone come at me with a high hand double jab, I'm like, all right, well, you're getting paid. I'm gonna put you asleep. You're within a round. It's coming over the top. So, so I'm doing loads of like lovely little slick head movement, body shots going in well. It's a really good fight, and I box really well, and it's total contrast to what style of fighting, say 2 fights before for the first Froch fight, where it's low left hand, it's sharp shooting. Mm-hmm. And I just think maybe I'd bought into what people say, and that's something that sometimes I think, was it right or was it wrong? You know, the tactics for the second Froch fight was pace yourself better, and I've only thought that because people said that I gassed in the first fight, and the truth is, didn't gas in the first fight. I dropped him in the first round, and I went for it in bursts throughout the fight, but I didn't just empty the tank that next round. And by the 9th round, I am tired. So is he. And the fight gets stopped prematurely. Would I have got stopped? Absolutely not. Would I have run out of steam? No. Like I would have made it through that fight, just like Usyk makes it through the fight against Fury. Just like
you did in the 12th round of Eubank when your shoulder went.
Yeah, exactly.
You find a way.
That's what fighters do. Like that's what fighters do. So yeah, I sort of lent into that a little bit maybe, and.
But you got caught. You got caught with a shot. You got stopped. The adulation always goes to the winner in these things. We remember the old Don King going in with the American flags and out with the British flags, and almost like the loser is sort of forgotten and shipped off to the dressing room. What were the hours and days like after that? Were there tears? Was there anger? Was there annoyance? Was it just hey, it's one of those things?
Yeah, like sad, really sad. Maybe a bit of panic almost. It's like I know I'd set myself up for, you know, so I've gone all in.
Yeah.
I'm either gonna
Yeah.
see it, and then turns out he fucking caught me on the river, you know. And saddest thing, I was like, everything that's gone on the fucking Groves Froch saga. Sorry, I keep swearing. Saga is gonna get it's now one punch. It's like.
Did you want him back in again? Did you sort of think, I want him now, I want him again?
No, I wasn't necessarily rushing to have it. I mean, you'd love whenever you lose, you'd love to have another run. You're like, I could do better. Let me do it properly. But literally, that second fight, I'm boxing really well. I get caught with a shot. I make a mistake and I get caught with a shot, and that's what happens in boxing. Your lights can get switched out, and it's done. You're done. And considering so much the effort, the energy that had gone into up to that point,
and is that the hard part, the acceptance?
Yeah. I mean, what is acceptance like? What is accept? And I acknowledge that it happened to me, but probably don't accept it because I'm like, I remember after for one line that's just not going to do well with me is like, I'm going to say I'm still better than Carl Froch. And people go, you've had 2 fights, you've been stopped twice. How are you better than Carl Froch? I was like, I don't want to get a diagram out and notepad and to get highlights to watch the thing. But I won the first fight and was robbed. And then I was winning the second fight and got caught. So our entire rivalry is one punch. Of course, it's much more than that. But that's what it feels like. And Victor's rewrite history. And he then instantly took a job at Sky. So he's there every week. He's pulling Floyd Mayweather before his fight, telling him, do you remember me at 80,000 at Wembley? So like at the time,
tell me about it.
At the time, it was awful. It was awful. I was racing for a world title. I was like, I just now have to, the way to move on from this is to just win a world title. But
and that hatred, you know, because of what sort of he'd said in the commentary. I remember being in Vegas. I think it was for a Carl Frampton fight, and I remember seeing you. I think you were working for the radio, and we were there, Carl and I said to Carl, go on, make it up to him. And it was all that sort of stuff. And I just thought, come on, you know, you guys have given us this incredible story or whatever, but it was very, very hard for him, I think. And I couldn't sort of work it out because, okay, whatever you say about the first fight, it's a win for Carl Froch on paper. It's a win in the second fight for Carl Froch. And he seemed to be the one that had the real issues. And I didn't quite get it. I remember we put you together at Sky on the broadcast at the O2 that time. And I think maybe were you sitting in the changing room already and Carl walked in and it was all a bit frosty and he asked about your family.
That was it.
Maybe,
that was when it was sort of squashed.
Yeah.
That was the best. I think we had some engagements coming up and it was a team meeting and one of the change rooms. I came in and everyone was there and he came over, to his credit, came over.
He did, didn't he? Ask about the family, didn't he?
Just like, just make chit chat, let's get over it. And the truth is, like, you know, people say, yeah, you're going to say that, but the plan was for me to win at Wembley, and then obviously the logical thing to do would to be big up Carl Froch. And that, why would I not do that? You know, up until that point, I'd give him nothing, diminished him. But so I would have gone, do you know what? Like, congratulations to Carl Froch. Yeah, he's been part of a historic night. He didn't go his way, but he's been a great champion. Gone through the thing, but that never happened because he wasn't ready to do the same after winning. Because that's how I keep a value within boxing. Of course, you know, I know that, I understand that, and essentially you want to be true to yourself, but sometimes true to yourself has to take time to be seen. Yeah, you know, we boxers can't always be relatable because ultimately they're doing something that not the vast majority of people can't do, is to like get up in front of an audience and get punched in the face and try and knock someone out. So we see that at times. Like the most relatable and really vulnerable time you'll see me in my career in front of the telly is not when I've been knocked out, when I physically am vulnerable. It's when I win. When I win the belt, you know, at the 4th attempt, when it's like, oh, thank God for that. Like, now I can move on with my life. Because if I didn't, I don't know what
The
would have
monkey's
happened.
off your back, the shackles are
Exactly.
off, and you can breathe.
Yeah.
Because we all thought George Groves is a world champion almost, but it didn't happen. It was the Froch, the Badu. Jack was so close as well, and then finally it happened in Sheffield, and almost like on an undercard, to a Kell Brook fight. So maybe it didn't get the attention or whatever, because it had been a marathon to actually get hold of that treasure. Even though you were seen as this world-class fighter and a big name, you hadn't actually done it.
No, exactly. And maybe fighting on a Kell Brook card, the Kell Brook Spence undercard, helped. It wasn't my show. It wasn't me trying to be the center of attention still, trying to make up for lost time, trying to make a splash and take over. It might have helped. And it doesn't mean that I did it wrong the first time, because, who comes after us is Anthony Joshua, and he stepped into the limelight. He leads from the front, but he wins. He wins the belts time and time again. You wouldn't want him to win his world title on an undercard. Of course not, because he's there to put on the show. But for me at this stage, I think I'm 27 years old, maybe 28 years old, and it suited me down to the ground. Fighting Chudinov, who's Russian, who has to come to the UK to fight me. He's a former champion. He gets beat, but who was it? I can't remember who it was. Storm. It might have been Storm or someone. Someone beats him and gets stripped because he's not. Yeah, because he's been tested positive for drugs. So he's coming over here not as the champion, even though he technically could have been or should have been. It's for a vacant belt. It's for a WBA world title, major world title, amazing world title. And also, I know that if I win this, I'm already signed into this World Boxing Super Series. There's potential to have a load more belts, load more champions. And I've never shied away from the hard fights, Adam. I've never thought to myself, "Oh, let's just have a knockover job. Let's have an easy fight. Let's have this." I've from the get-go, third fight was against Paul Samuels, who he probably was a bit of a veteran at the time, but he a former champion.
He could
fought
punch.
at a decent level, and he could punch. I was like, "No, let me do it. Just so that everyone goes, wow, look, he's not messing about." Won my first domestic title in 9 fights, Charles Adamu. First defense is Kenny Anderson, unbeaten.
Great fight. Manchester
Good
Arena,
fight, a strong man. It's a hard matching. DeGale, and then in the meantime, I felt like I was treading water, but I was ready to go. I thought, DeGale, that's a big show, O2 Arena. I'm going to be 1 or 2 fights away from world title here. And then with looking back now, I got Glenn Johnson. I got out to the States and fought Sierra, who was world ranked. I fought a lot of other good fighters, which was what I needed to bed in. I was more than ready by the time I hit Froch 19-0. I felt like I felt like I've been ready for a long time now. I'm ready to go. So I'd always wanted to test myself. Always wanted to push on. And then, having the World Super... I was the first one to sign into Super Series, and they'd already announced all the Cruiserweight World Champions were in the Cruiserweight division. So I thought, in this Super Middleweight division, this Super Middleweight category, I'm going to get DeGale. I'm going to get DeGale again. I'm going to get that. That'd be the final. I'm trying to negotiate with the tournament. Calla Sauerland moved from Sauerland Promotions to running the tournament. I'm like, when you get DeGale, make sure it's in the other side of the draw. When you do this other side of the draw, I said, I want... Because they had this formula where the A sides, the four seeded fighters would pick an unseeded fighter. I was like, I said, whoever. When they found out Jamie Cox was going in, I was like, I'm going to have Cox, because I didn't want to be branded a domestic world champion, but at the same time, I know just 2 Brits from prior, me and Froch, me and DeGale. It's not going to be as big as that, of course, but it's going to have a lot more attention on it. So let's have Jamie Cox. An old buddy of mine, should share a room with him, Crystal Palace. We used to travel the world together as amateurs. He was a lot lighter than me back then. I'm gifting him a shot at a world title. Look what I had to do.
I like Jamie Cox for a long time. I thought he was a really good fighter. I was there when you beat him. I was there for Eubank. I didn't make it out to Saudi for Callum Smith. Did he think that was? Did he even go into that thinking you were going to win? I know you had the shoulder problems and you probably thought you were near the end. Did he believe you'd win that night?
Yeah.
Be honest.
I think I knew I wasn't fit, but I still believed I could win. I could win. Uh, it wasn't. I wasn't nowhere near prepared the same as I was, say, for Eubank or for Chudinov. But and I didn't look past Smith, but it was just this is it. This was my exit fight. This was the last fight. I knew it was going to be that, and I just kind of got really stubborn about it. I was like, well, I'm not gonna pull out. I'm not gonna have anyone tell me I can't fight. I want to win this Muhammad Ali trophy. This might be the next big thing in boxing. I want it, and I'm gonna get fit. I'm gonna get ready. I'm gonna beat Smith, and I'm gonna sail off into the sunset. And I worked, but the hardest I've ever worked was to get fit for that fight. So I had to rehab my shoulder after the dislocation. Again, just like walking out of Wembley Stadium, I didn't really know what to expect. Rehabbing a shoulder, and when it's going to be fit again, I didn't know what to expect. Some people were saying 6 months, some were saying 2 years. I was like, well, I ain't got 2 years. So we got to it. Ben Caraway, who works with Chris Billum Smith and a lot of the McGuigan fighters at the moment, I got in with him for the rehab after my physio, Kevin Lidlow, had sort of set me on the right way. And we went about business. But train, that was hard. So it was like doing 3 sessions a day rather than 2 sessions a day, because when I was with Ben, I had to fit in between punching in the morning and circuits or strength or sprints in the evening. They were physical treatments, and I think hindsight, I can turn around and say you weren't fit, you weren't ready. What you should have done was you should have delayed, postponed, cancelled, pulled out and fought DeGale, fought Smith after, and there was loads of this talk at the time, but I just was too stubborn about it. I was just like, the tournament offered us to put Eubank back in to fight Smith, and I'll fight the winner. And it wouldn't be for the Ali trophy; it would just be a fight in the new year. And I said, "Nah, I'm not having that. I want the trophy. I want the belt. I want the accolades. I want." It was a really good person involved in it, and there was a win bonus on top of that. So I was like, that's more than enough motivation for me. I'm gonna go out there and do it. But the fight, I haven't watched the fight back since, but I know I get caught with a check left hook, which is Callum Smith's best shot. I remember in that fight, which I'd never fought before, was like I never backed myself down the straight in terms of I'd had to cut a lot of weight for that fight. So I thought, and I could feel it sort of in my legs. And I looked at Smith and I thought, I've seen you have a lot of stale performances where you ain't got the weight right. And I'd imagine you ain't got the weight right because he was so big. But you look on it today, but he had a lot of respect for my power. He wasn't really super engaging, and it might have been because this is his first world title fight. It's a big fight for him. Pressure's on. I'm a bit of a name. I'm known for being a heavy puncher, so I'm going to try and take advantage of that. I'm going to press it a bit more. I'm going to try and up the action. Going back again to that Froch fight where it didn't start quick enough, and I think I land a couple of decent shots, and then maybe just one too many, or one telegraph right hand catch. He catches it there, skip left hook, hits me on the top of the head, just above the ear, scrambles the senses, which happens when you've had to cut a lot of weight. Really good finisher. Sort of dives on me, catches me with body shot, which sort of knocks the wind out of me as well. And then there's another shot as he knocks the wind out of me, I go, right, take a knee. And as I'm going down, I get caught before I get down. And then I'm down, and I thought, if my senses are not scrambled by the time he gets to 7, that gives me a second to stand up at 8. But they weren't. They were there, and then I can't really see straight, and I can hear 8, and I look at Shane, and he looks at me, and I just go, oh, it's a no, as in, but it's a sorry. It's a sorry. It looks like I say, I don't know, maybe it looks like I say no, I'm not getting up, but it's like a, when you go sorry, and I felt bad, like I felt really bad, like at that point, but also a lot of relief, maybe, because it's like it's the last fight, and I was so tired, and I just like, that's you done now. you better be happy with you being done now. And it was, the fact it was in Saudi Arabia, my wife wasn't there, none of my mates and fans were there. Just get me home, and I'm happy to now just breathe a bit and relax.
They got you home. Fantastic career. I can't believe you're only a pro, I think, 10 years, and you seem to pack everything in. We didn't even talk about Paul Smith, Callum's brother, who you stopped, another very, very good fighter. A wonderful resume. I'm sure you look back now with immense pride. You had your setbacks. You had your fantastic nights. You had to dig deep at times, and all that. It was thoroughly enjoyable to work alongside and broadcast you with you, George. Before I let you go,
and it was thoroughly enjoyable to have you there, Adam, as well. I always appreciated you and enjoyed your work. You do have a fantastic voice, and he was kind to me a lot of the times. Gave me great advice at times, and even when I was trying to break through, on the David Hay sort of coattails as well, it was great to that all you guys were very engaging. I can't think now off the top of my head any pearls of wisdom you gave me about creating value, adding value, but it was great, and it's an honor. I love it when I listen back to some of them old fights I've had that you're there and you're commenting on them. And then even the old Ringside episodes that we had them.
We had a few. We had a lot of fun with Ringside, didn't we? Thank you for that. I'll leave you with a couple of quick fire questions, I guess. Favorite moment of all?
Yeah, it's sort of like there's the favorite moment's got to be like winning a world title against Chudinov. It's a sweet moment. Is dropping Froch at Manchester Arena.
Most dramatic, that wasn't it?
Yeah. Getting
guys in the studio, sandwiches coming out. You must have watched that clip back.
Yeah.
That was great fun.
Yeah, I think it's Glenn McCrory, Amir Khan,
that's right,
David Hay.
I think so.
I think they got popcorn and
they got everything on. They were having everything, weren't they?
Oh, I was like, I've been telling everyone for months. I literally told you 3 days ago. I'm gonna hit him with this. I'm gonna take center of the ring. No one listened. To get the DeGale win was really sweet. Do you know what I mean, if you take Chudinov out, it's the DeGale. Everything about the DeGale, thing was sweet. And
I asked for one. Go on, one. What's your best?
It's winning world title.
Winning the world title. Relationships now with Eubank, Froch, and DeGale.
Yeah, I mean, probably the one I dislike the most might have been Froch. And there's one I sort of see and get on with the most. We talk the most. We do the most work together.
Because I remember thinking you were so different, and there's no Christmas cards ever going to be swapped. But then Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn never wanted to spend time together, and look what happened. So it's almost like you've got this bond, and especially as fighters, you've shared a lot together. There's a lot to talk about, right?
Yeah. Well, you never get a chance to sort of hang out and be human, do you? Like, and it was only after I retired that I realised a lot of the time the viral moments that people see, it's not really you a lot of the time, because you're put in this confrontational, sort of hostile sort of situation where you're going back and forth. So, when we've had to watch the Gloves Are Off episode with me and Froch. Johnny's in the middle, and Froch tries a bit of humour in that, and obviously he's got a really dry sense of humour. So he does it stoic, and you don't really land. And obviously, I'm not reacting to it at all, so none of it lands for him. But I think, oh, that's so sad. He actually meant, he meant a joke there, where like Johnny says something to me, and I think I've half fumble it and then say it, and he goes, "It's easy for you to say," and I was like, "Oh no." So he's got quite a dark sense of humour, which is very much like myself. Eubank don't get a lot of time to have any sort of human moments with him. He's very he took more than just a page out of my book in terms of show people nothing, and still up to this day, and he certainly wouldn't show it with me. So don't have any problems or anything. I at times I appreciate Eubank. I will not stick the knife in, but if I don't think he's performing. I'll have to say it, and I do wish that he'd sort of achieved more. I think he had the capability of winning a world title, but I think that's way gone now. And De Gea, bumped into De Gea recently, and I got him on the podcast to have a little chat.
Because he's been off the scene, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's not interested. Not interested. I said, look, mate. I said, people ask me all the time, do you want to come and do a live show with De Gea? I say, yeah, but De Gea, he's not comfortable. He'd rather throw punches. So I mean, next time we see him, it might be in the ring. I've seen a few clips of him online. He's in the gym, so
I've heard that.
Might be in the ring. He might be calling out Jake Paul, but then he knows he's gonna have to talk. He's gonna call Jake Paul, so he might just be somewhere else. But yeah, it's good. It's good to see people not necessarily thriving sometimes, but just getting on with life and doing okay after boxing.
That was going to be my last question. It's a funny old world. It's a strange business, boxing. But how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm so good. So I've got my fighter Lucas Rohrig, who we're in the gym every day. 5 days a week we're in the gym, working hard. I'm working as a trainer and manager, and the only other person I managed was myself, and I was challenging for world titles. It's much easier at that end than it is at this end when you're breaking through. But he's a tremendous talent. He's improved a whole heap since we've been working together, and I think I'm super excited now to see how far this guy can go. And in many ways, it is different because I don't have to go and do the hill sprints myself. I don't have to get punched in the face myself. But I know what it's like to do that, so I appreciate that. And I have to lean into being the man in the arena and all the experiences I took from it, if I'm going to put it into a new project like this, as well as what it's like to be a good person, a good businessman maybe, and make sure he's navigating his career perfectly, keep getting busy, get him progressed in the right way, introduce him to the right people, and get people involved in the journey, get him on board, because he's definitely a supreme talent. He's the best thing I've seen since I've retired that's made me go, do you know what? Steven Gerrard, when I saw Steven Gerrard at the premiere for his movie, I was like, it's before he started doing managing, and he was just doing the TV punditry. He's like, it's great. He goes, you just talk about football, and they pay you for it, and you get your boxing fix, and you ain't got to be up and in it like these managers. Because I don't think I'll ever do managing. He has done since, and I left that meeting going, I'm going to do the same. I'm never going to do coaching, and then the same has happened because someone or an opportunity presents itself, and you're like, this is too good to miss. This is one for me.
It never leaves you, whether you're a fighter or the other side, boxing. It's the most bizarre of sports. George, it's been an absolute pleasure. You must bring him in next time. We'll check on his progress. Wish him well for December the 14th. Great to see you, Dad, former fighter, former world champion, trainer, manager. He's a good guy. You'll be watching the Voice of Boxing podcast with St. George Groves, Loungers TV right behind us, and we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Voice of Boxing.